Thank you, Caroline. That was very insightful. Next up is Alex Dews. Once again, he's the Policy and Program Manager for the Mayor's Office of Sustainability in the City of Philadelphia. So we'll hear from their very recent experience with instituting and executing energy benchmarking in the first city to do so, the City of Philadelphia. So welcome, Alex.
Okay, thanks, Evan. I will just jump right in and give a little bit of a background on what we've been doing here in Philadelphia over the past couple of years on energy benchmarking and where we are now with it, and what we see going forward. And sorry you weren't able to hear Carolyn's commentary to accompany her presentation, but I do want to just start by saying that IMT has and continues to be hugely helpful to us and all of the other cities who have either gone all the way and gotten a benchmarking policy in place or are still in the process of contemplating that. And I think that, for anybody who is thinking about doing it, make sure to be in touch with Caroline and the team at IMT, because they are really experts in understanding how to do that in a lot of different markets, and were really, as I said, hugely helpful to us and all the partners that we had here in Philly to get this off the ground. So you can go to the next slide, Evan. So in Philadelphia, the reason that we ended up with a benchmarking policy is that we have a citywide sustainability plan called GreenWorks Philadelphia that addresses sustainability in the 5 areas of energy, environment, equity, economy, and engagement. And a lot of our work has been focused on the energy category in the first couple of years because there's so much opportunity there, both in municipal government and at the citywide scale. And it's a really good way for us to show the value of the sustainability work in a really concrete way by avoiding energy costs in municipal government and helping business owners and residents to save money on energy across the entire city. So you'll see here that the structure of our plan is these 5 broad goals, and then we have measurable targets in each of those goal areas, and at present about 160 plus initiatives that we measure each year and report out on. You can find a full report on GreenWorks at our website. We put it out each June. The website is phila.gov/green. So there's a lot more detail about benchmarking and other associated energy work in that report that I won't be able to cover today. But this just gives you an idea of how that fits into our overall plan. Go to the next slide. So within the second target of GreenWorks, we have this goal to reduce citywide building energy use by 10%. And while we've made really good progress on the municipal side with our own buildings, it's been a lot harder to move the needle on citywide building energy use, and that's not unique to Philadelphia. That's a problem that we're seeing all across the country. Even when we normalize for weather and new growth in the city, in the commercial sector, we still have this really large increase in commercial building energy use between 2006, which is our baseline year, and 2012. And a lot of that energy use increase comes in the commercial natural gas sector. A couple of reasons for that. First of all, a lot of customers switching from electric to gas. And the second reason really is because the cost of gas is historically low right now. And really the final reason is that we know for a fact that there's just a huge amount of opportunity in the commercial building sector because a lot of owners are not paying close attention at all to their building energy use, and they don't really see it as anything more than a fixed cost and something that is such a small part of their overall budget that they're not really going to focus on it. They'll just pass that on from owner to tenant. So we realized that in order to start moving this in the right direction, both the energy reduction and the greenhouse gas reduction goals that we have here, we needed a way to get the attention of building owners to help them to understand what the opportunity is and to get them to see where they stand relative to their peers in the local marketplace as well as nationally. Next slide, please. It's another graphic illustrating the change over time in energy use here in Philadelphia. Residential energy use dropping off and then kind of plateauing, and commercial energy use increasing pretty dramatically during that time. You may have seen, as Caroline's slides were going by, I think I stole it from her, so no shame in saying that at all because I think it's a really important one. in terms of moving the needle on commercial building energy efficiency, it is about getting people's attention, but it's also about finding meaningful indicators so that people can understand what energy efficiency is all about and why it's important, and how to know if they're making progress moving in the right direction. So these are all just examples of labeling of different types of products. I think the one we're all most familiar with probably is fuel economy standards for cars. And really the point here is that if you don't have good metrics to measure performance, you have no way to be strategic about investments to improve the performance. So building energy benchmarking is really quite similar to fuel economy for cars. The primary difference being that building energy benchmarking is about measuring actual performance instead of just design performance, which is what fuel economy is all about. And for those of you who are not familiar already with Energy Star Portfolio Manager, this is just kind of a snapshot to let you know that it is the industry standard in measuring energy performance in buildings, as well as water performance now. And the growth in the number of buildings using the tool has been really exponential. If we had the last 2 years, you'd see that it's gone up, continuing to go up on the same curve, over 300,000 buildings using the tool nationally now. So when we started to think about whether this made sense in Philadelphia, and I think this is true in other markets, not just the very large cities, but across the country where you have any kind of density of commercial properties, we found that a lot of the more sophisticated building owners are already using Energy Star Portfolio Manager and have been for a long time because it's really just a smart management tool. So extending that into a public reporting program for a lot of those large owners is really not much of an effort at all. And in a lot of cases, if they're building owners who are focused a lot on high performance and good energy efficiency in their buildings, they're more than happy to participate so that they can take some credit for the good work that they're doing. In the top right of this slide, there's an image that's showing that it's a sample of about 35,000 buildings that EPA followed for a number of years to determine what the impact of benchmarking alone was, not measuring specific investments or operational changes, but just the impact of benchmarking was on energy efficiency. And they saw across that sample size 7% savings on average, which I think is really important because that does prove out the fact that if you're not paying attention to your energy usage, you really have no opportunity to save. And just this act of starting to track annually what your performance looks like so that you're not just measuring against your own utility bills from the previous cycle, but you're measuring against a national database of buildings that are just like yours. That's much better information, and you're going to start to make better decisions with that. In the city of Philadelphia, we are by far the largest property owner, and we have more than 600 facilities that range from very large municipal uses, office uses, cultural institutions, to very small neighborhood-scale recreation centers, fire and police departments. And it's really important for us to be able to measure what the energy performance looks like in all of those facilities and to start to understand how we can make investments across that whole portfolio of buildings. Obviously, we have a number of really large facilities that are when you add the top 10 together, that's almost half of our energy use and cost, and the top 50 users then making up more than 3/4 of the energy cost. So we do want to focus on those large buildings, large users of energy, but we're also focused, as I said before, on all of those satellite facilities that are scattered across the city geographically, and there are a lot of interesting things that we can do now that we have much better information. Next slide. So the graphic here that you'll see is of the Philadelphia Police Department buildings, and when you can get a sense of how they're all doing, they're not all exactly the same, but it's pretty typical building type, similar square footage, hours of usage, etc. When you can look at a chart like this, you can see, well, you need to make investments at the right side, and you need to figure out what's being done right on the left side that you can replicate in the other facilities. And you see the City of Philadelphia median site energy use intensity is higher than the national, and quite a few of the buildings here are above both of those medians. And there's a huge opportunity for us to save taxpayer money and also to make these buildings better places to work for the folks that are using them day in and day out. Next slide, please. I think getting to the point where those of you who are in other jurisdictions who might be considering benchmarking policy, it's really the way to do this. You know, if you look across all the cities that have been successful, you really do have to have a good set of partners, because obviously municipal government alone is not going to be able to pull it off. And we've been really fortunate here in Philadelphia to have good partners at a number of different scales. Obviously some national partners. EPA supports the portfolio manager tool. Department of Energy does a lot of really good research and development work that supports what we're trying to do here. And as I mentioned before, Institute for Market Transformation has really been supportive from the policy development through implementation phase. Before you get too far ahead with thinking about how this would play out in a local market, it's important to understand that in order to do any of this, you have to have good data access. And we've been fortunate to have the two municipally owned utilities, the Gas Works and the Water Department, on board from the beginning, and then PECO, the electric company, and Veolia, the steam loop manager, also on board from the beginning. And it's been, I guess, 2 years now since we first started conversations about how this would play out here. And from the very beginning, we had all of those utility partners at the table trying to understand what their concerns were and what their opportunities were to serve their customers in a way that would make energy usage information available and easy to input into a benchmarking tool. And finally, the local partners that we've had are really, I think, the main reason why we've been so successful. So the Delaware Valley Green Building Council, and you'll hear a little bit from Holly here in a minute, they've been working with us on outreach and education, which is, before the policy passed, really important. And then once we've gotten into implementation, crucial to making sure that we get the word out to everyone who needs to do this, to understand not just that there's a need to comply, but that this is something that is a valuable tool for any building owner of any type or size. And once we have their attention on benchmarking, there are a lot of opportunities to find good incentives locally and regionally that will help to offset the costs of the kinds of improvements that are really going to make large dents in energy usage in buildings. The Energy Efficient Buildings Hub, located here in Philadelphia down at the Navy Yard, is funded by the Department of Energy, has been a really important technical assistance partner from policy development now through implementation, and will continue to play an important role in the analysis of the data that we get back from benchmarking results. And we're in the process of that right now, working on evaluating some of the early results that we're getting, which has been really interesting to see. So far, we've had to move our deadline back on reporting, and I'll talk about that a little bit more soon. But we've been really fortunate to have these two partners. And then Penn Future, from the beginning, was one of the partners also that helped us to organize a group here in the region called the Coalition for an Energy Efficient Philadelphia, and it was made up of advocates and businesses who were all interested in seeing Philadelphia move the ball on energy efficiency at a citywide scale, and felt like benchmarking policy was the right next step because it was a low-cost, no-cost measure that was really addressing the largest building energy users in the city and getting them to understand that they have a responsibility and an opportunity to improve energy performance. So that's the kind of coalition building work that Penn Future, we were really fortunate to have them as a partner, because that's something that they're obviously very adept at doing. And with all those partners together, we were able to pass our benchmarking policy unanimously. And I do have BOMA up here as well as a local partner, and while they were initially not supportive of all the elements of the policy, since we've passed it, the Building Owners and Managers chapter here in Philadelphia has been helpful in getting the word out to all of their members, and quite a few of the BOMA members in Philly are very, very efficient buildings that have been doing energy benchmarking for a long time and have some of the highest scores of any of the buildings that we've heard from. So wherever we can hold those folks up as an example of what's possible, we're really happy to do that, and happy to include them as a partner here as well. Next slide. So through the support of the Energy Efficient Buildings Hub and our partnership with them on technical assistance, we're able to develop a website which is, we hope, a one-stop shop for all the information that building owners need to get through the benchmarking process, and also to understand what kinds of incentives are already available to them to do energy upgrades in their properties. We have tried to make this as streamlined and straightforward as possible with direct links to each of the utilities, which offer varying levels of automation in data access. The electric utility, PECO, and Veolia, the steam utility, both offer web services which will put customer data directly into the benchmarking tool, and the gas company and water department are offering they have staff that will support customers who need to access data, and they'll send that to them electronically for upload into the tool. But we're continuing to work on making this better and more user-friendly, and we were lucky, I think, in some ways to be the 6th city to go forward with this because we were able to learn a lot from some of the cities that had already done it. But it is a big effort. We're a very small policy-focused office here in the Mayor's Office of Sustainability, so wherever we can use our partnerships and this kind of technology to extend the work that we're doing in reaching out to about 2,500 building owners in the city to get them to understand that this is a new law they need to comply with. We're going to try to make use of all the best tools that are out there and continue to, as I said, improve this functionality and make it an easy process that's also going to push people in the right direction on energy efficiency. Next slide. So the key dates for us in this first compliance year, we did have to move back our initial compliance deadline from October 31st by about a month due to the federal government shutdown. Obviously, Portfolio Manager is run by the EPA, and with their offices being shuttered in D.C., the tool was offline for the duration of the government shutdown. So we're pushed back into November. Our initial reporting deadline was pushed back from June 30th because Portfolio Manager did a major upgrade in June, July of this year. So the deadline is just right before Thanksgiving this year, and we'll put out a report on our findings by the end of the year, and then going forward, starting in 2014 and all future years, the reporting deadline is June 30th again. And beginning in the second year, which is next June, all of the information, the STAR scores, the energy use intensities, carbon emissions, will be publicly available on all the covered buildings. And I guess I didn't go into a lot of detail on the covered buildings here in Philadelphia. It's pretty similar to one of the slides that was in Caroline's presentation, 50,000 square foot and above threshold for commercial buildings. There is some variation between cities on how they do, where they set that threshold, how it's enforced, and what the public disclosure requirements are. But for now, Philadelphia is at that 50,000 and larger, and as I said before, it's over 2,000 buildings that are required to comply, and that includes hospitals, universities, schools, cultural institutions, city government buildings, houses of worship. It's really a broad cross-section of sectors here in the city, and so far we've got about 30 million square feet that has successfully benchmarked and reported to us, and half of that is office space, which is in Portfolio Manager rateable. For you can receive a score for that space type. Some other spaces are not eligible for that score, but you can still get a lot of other good metrics out of the tool, and you are required to benchmark. So it's been really interesting for us to start to see what the energy use looks like by a different sector, so that we can, going forward, we can start to think about policy changes that will help us to support increased energy efficiency in all those different sectors, understanding that the barriers and challenges are different in each, whether it's from the physical building perspective or financing of different types of institutions. So we're really excited to put that report out by end of the year on the full results, and then going forward, making those results public starting in 2014.